Hello and welcome to the How to Get Started video. This is an updated version because we are now at a newer version of Blender and a newer version of the FLIP Fluids add-on for Blender. And yes, so there are now different ways to get the add-on. You can take a look to our buy page on our homepage, and then you will find a free demo version. Then there are 3 links to the Blender Market, Gumroad, or Flip Normals. Actually, there's the summer sale on Flip Normals, so this is your chance to get the add-on for 30% off the regular price. I'm going to explain the full installation process using my Blender Market account, so if you click on buy, you will automatically be redirected to the Blender Market page. Actually, we have the version 1.7.0 with some really amazing new features, and once you have ordered this, you will find some downloads. And there are some downloadable files. So what you need to do here is, of course, you need to download the add-on itself, the MIXBOX plugin, the add-on presets here, what are assets you can use in the assets browser from Blender. The Blender Foundation just released version 3.6.0 of the amazing Blender, and let's go to installing the add-on here. So what you need to do is go to Edit, Preferences, and then have a look to Add-ons on the left side, go to Install, and then you need to go to your download folder where we just downloaded all files we are looking for to work with. The add-on itself, the stable version, and when this is selected, click on Install Add-on. It will take just a small while, and then you will see that this is available here. If you cannot see it directly here, just type in FLIP in the search field and then you will find it here. And of course you need to activate this checkbox here. And when you do this, take a look to the right side into your tools, because then you will see that there is a new tool coming into, that is the FLIP Fluids tool. So here's the information. Click here to complete installation of the FLIP Fluids add-on. So click this one, and that is done. This is new. In older versions it was required to restart Blender to finish the installation process, but now this works with this button, what is amazing. Then there are other things we need to do, so let's open the Preferences panel here and scroll down here to take a look what we have here. Something what is new, what you will love, is enable tablet domain settings. I can show you if we are going to create a domain later, but let's scroll down here and then you will find some interesting things. As example, we can install MIXBOX. And to be able to install MIXBOX, we need to enable the developers tools, because there are some features inside the add-on that are in an ongoing development phase. You can use this as there are no limits, but maybe you will find some bugs or maybe you're missing something. This is why some features are only available when this checkbox is enabled. And if this is enabled, you can install the MIXBOX plugin. Click on Install MIXBOX plugin and then go back to your Downloads folder and then click the Install button, and then you will see it has been installed. Amazing is that you have a small MIXBOX test field here with some colors to show you how MIXBOX is working. So the original color mixing inside Blender was working in the RGB way. You can see the blue color and the yellow color, and of course in real world when mixing these 2 colors you will have green in the middle. What was not possible using RGB mixing, but with our MIXBOX plugin you will see this is a natural way of color mixing. So this is amazing. MIXBOX is installed, and if you would like to know how to use MIXBOX exactly, I will link a MIXBOX tutorial in the video description. And if you would like to install our new assets, you can scroll down here to this install preset scene library. The first thing is we need to select an install location, so by clicking on this folder. And we do not need to create an extra folder because the assets will create a folder for us, so just click on accept. And then we can click on install preset scene library. And then again in the downloads folder, you will find the add-on presets package here. Just click on install, and then you will see an information that it has been installed. And then you will find that the FLIP Fluids Addon presets has been installed in this folder. And yeah, there are all the blend files inside. So what means, as example, from the fire water example you can see on YouTube, you can open the complete scene here, also with other presets. The other thing is that you will find the assets now on the asset browser. Okay, I will do that later, but if you would like to check some information about the assets, I will also add a link into the video description. There are some more helpful links, examples here, tutorial and learning resources, everything you can click, and it will be opened in their internet browser. There are really interesting things here. Beginner friendly mode is something you could check. Display document links in the UE will help to find some links, direct links to help settings, and let's have a look to this enable tablet setting here. So let's create a domain box. You could create one just by clicking on create domain, and yeah, we have a domain box here, what is fantastic. You will find we have a helper menu here. What is not the simulation engine itself, it's a collection of buttons and operations that will do things automatically that you would normally find in the domain settings panel here. I will keep that open because we will work all the time with it. However, if you cannot see this here, you can disable and enable the thing by pressing the N key on your keyboard. The most interesting settings will be found here. Things like the resolution, multi-threading is another thing we could talk about, maybe in another video. The cache directory, all the things that are important are here too. Let's have a deeper look into the FLIP Fluids itself. So as you can see, you will find this in the physics properties panel. That's of course the right location for this. And if I would go to disable FLIP Fluids, you will see the default cube here. And if I would go to enable this FLIP Fluid thing, I would need to make this a domain box first, so you can see all the settings again. So this is the way this works. We always have a hint here that this file has not been saved. Click on save, and then you can choose a folder where you would like to save your file, and let's call this first steps as example, and save the file. And now the red text disappears and we are ready to do anything here. Okay, let's go to have a deeper look into this thing here. You can see there are many settings on the right side for the domain part. So everything we are doing here is for the simulator. We're setting up things here, and when we hit bake, this will be sent to our simulation engine, and then the baked files will be loaded into the 3D viewport. This is the way this thing works. That means we have a lot of settings here. The resolution, we can switch between different simulation methods. Whenever you hold the mouse cursor above a field, you will have some detailed information here. Whenever you hold the mouse over here, you will learn what this field exactly is doing. So we have the word scale here, what says how big this domain would be in the real world. Let's think about the difference between a small object, like a glass on a table, what means it has to be less than meters. We need centimeters, then you would decrease this value here, and then you will see some information about the word scaling here. Or it could also be a wave simulation on a big sea, ocean, something like this. Then you maybe would need to increase this here to have a realistic simulation. This defines how big the simulation is, how fast the simulation is moving, how much white water will be generated, and something like this. There are some surface settings. With the surface settings, there are things like meshing against objects. So these are some details. You will always have the chance to take a look onto the online documentation. However, there's a lot of things here, and that is something I would show you. And we have that new tablet domain settings that will help you to have a better overview here. When enabling this, you will find all these things, or most of these things, very nice, ordered in some tabs. It's something I really love. This is absolutely new. That comes with the latest add-on version 1.7.0, and give it a try. Okay, so now we have this. I think we could now start with the first simulation. What do you think? So the first simulation could be so easy just by adding any object you would like. Let's have a look into the sphere here. And in general, you would need to click on FLIP Fluids here. Then you would need to say, let's say this is an inflow object. And then you have an object that will emit some fluid into your domain box. You must be sure that this thing is inside the domain box, otherwise it will be ignored for simulation. But another easier way is if you would go to add an object here, you could also just click this inflow button in the helper add-on. This thing automates some things that you would do manually in the regular add-on settings here. Yes, so we have our first simulation set up here. We just need to click bake, and then you can see a bake process here in persons. You will see how long it will take. And if you go with the mouse cursor and scrub through the timeline here, you will see the simulation. But what you could also do is when you scroll down, absolutely down, auto load baked frames. This is cool because that gives you a live feedback with our simulator. So finished baked files will automatically be loaded and played back here in the speed of simulating. If you press stop here and you press the play button, you will see that this is working some faster here. We have a final surface display and a preview display, and this is because if you're going to use really higher simulation, that will slow down your viewport. Okay, actually you see the red numbers here. This is not 25 or 24 frames per second. Let's have a look to what I have set up. I have 25 FPS, and if I would like to have a faster playback, I can use the preview mesh just by clicking this. Click the reload frame button here, and then you will have a faster playback, but with less details, of course. There's also a way to set up with what resolution this preview and the final setting will be simulated. So let me reset here, and let's have a look to this resolution here. So you will find this in the simulation settings too. If your domain box is not selected because you are working in another part of your scene, you could click that domain thing here, and the helper add-on automatically detects the domain box, and then you need to click this button here and have a look to simulation. Okay, so simulation is enabled, and you will find the grid resolution. This is the same as you can see here. It's connected, as you can see here, and when open this panel here, you will also find the preview resolution. And we have a use recommend checkbox here because you always are going to use the half of the full resolution here. But if this is something you do not want, you can disable this box here and can choose your own recommend resolution here for the preview part. Of course, there are more than just inflow objects. You can also use some obstacles as well. Let's do this in a quick way. 100, let me use recommend here. Let me add another object just to show you how this works, and just to give you another hint, click the obstacle button. If you would like, you can change some settings like friction as example. So like this, click bake and take a look to how this is working. This obstacle is not the perfect obstacle for this simulator because there is non-manifold data. This is really important to understand, that your objects need to be watertight. And there's a great way to check this with the 3D print add-on. This is something that already comes with Blender. You just need to enable this using the add-ons panel here. You can type in print, and then you will find this thing here. Just enable this, and then you will find the 3D print check all button in the 3D print panel. And while your obstacle is selected, click on check all, and then you will find non-manifold edges and some more things here. So I click on cleanup, make manifold, check all again, and then this is great. If this is modifying your obstacle object too much, then you could do something like making a duplicate of your object. Of course, after animating it, if this is something you would like to do, and then use the original object just for rendering. So what means you can disable this eye here, and just for rendering your original object will be visible, and the simulation object that has been modified with the 3D print object can be hidden for rendering and just used for the simulation part. just as an information for you. We often have some support requests because of some obstacles or some geometry is not working in the right way, and in many cases it is because the objects are not watertight. Okay, you can see some more things like the cache directory here and the Blender render output. The cache directory automatically will be relative to your file location. And if you would like a render output, you can click the set relative to blend file button here. And then automatically you will have the folder for your rendered files. And then you can also click the set prefix as file name. And this way, with 2 clicks, you will have a really great output directory and file naming here. And if you would like to test some different simulation settings and would not like to override the old simulation part, you can click this increase version. And then you will see that the cache directory will have an additional 1, and also the render output will have an additional 1, because this will be baked and rendered in a new folder. Okay, there are more things like whitewater simulation. You can enable this here. Everything except dust is enabled. You can also use dust, of course. If this is enabled and I'm clicking bake, you will see that our add-on is going to emit whitewater particles, foam, bubbles and spray, everything you need for a great looking simulation. Let's have a look to a rendered window. We also need to have a nice background. Of course, you could now make a brighter background here using your word panel here. I'm going to use the HDRI maker. Okay, now we have whitewater and we have fluid, but everything is not really looking great. This is because we are missing some shaders here. What we could now do is we could go to the physics panels here while our surface is selected. By the way, our add-on generates FLIP Fluids surface and all objects here in a collection. Let's go back to our helper add-on. You can click that Organize Outliner button here. And then you will find out that we have some sub-collections like domain, where only the domain object inside, the obstacle, everything is just ordered in a cool way here. Let's go back to our surface here. As this is selected, you can now select a surface material here from the drop-down list. You will find all the presets you remember. You maybe remember from first versions of the FLIP Fluids add-on. We can select them from here, and then automatically the surface becomes this. And if you would like to see whitewater particles, let's go to one of these whitewater things here. And you will find out that whitewater is visible as render display and for viewport display, but we cannot see them here. And this is because hide particles in viewport is enabled here. This is important because if you have thousands or millions of whitewater particles, this will slow down the viewport. What you can do is now you can disable this checkbox here. Then you need to reload the frame, and now you can see that orange dots here. Let me make the FLIP Fluid surface invisible, and now you can see all that whitewater particles here. So these are the bubbles. Dust is not enabled for simulation, so you will see nothing here. This is the foam, and this is the spray particles. You can now here select different material too. For foam, you can select foam. For spray, we should select spray. Foam should be foam and bubbles should be bubbles. If you would like to have a different particle size, then you must take care because you can change it here. But this will only be visible when clicking the reload frame button. And this will change the size of all particles. If you do not want this, you can click on Foam, Bubble, Spray, Dust button. The hide particles in viewport checkbox will automatically be enabled. So I need to disable this again. And then your particle scale will be set up for each kind of whitewater simulation object separately. Always remember, if you're going to change things here, you need to reload the frame to be able to see the changes here. Okay, so the foam particles are much too big. Let me decrease this to 02. Reload frame, have a look. Yeah. And then I can also enable the surface settings too. Okay, so this is how this is looking like actually. For the foam part, I would say we could change the material just in the way how you set up shaders here, just to make them a little better visible here. If you would like to have a more beautiful surface of the simulated fluid surface, you can take a look to the modifier tab, because our add-on automatically adds a smooth modifier. You can set it up here, like this, and then this will be more smooth here, what is absolutely beautiful. Okay, and then there is the assets browser. Now, as I told you, you will be able to find the new add-on presets here. You can type something in the search field here, like shader as example, and you will find some interesting shaders here. And yes, these are the old icons from the old preset library. And let's have a look to the clear water shader. You can just drag this on the surface here, and then you have clear water here. So let's have a look to milk or something else. Some shaders have some little hints here. I recommend to use larger thumbnails here, because then you can see that small hints here. Velocity and speed is something. This is for attributes. We are going to make a tutorial about attributes for YouTube, so you can see what this is for and how this is working. And something else I would like to recommend is if you're going to render your finished setup scene, your finished simulation, and all things have been prepared for rendering, then we recommend to use command line rendering. This is maybe not available for all operating systems. What I can say is for Windows, everything is working. Everything of what you can see in the command line tools will work on Windows correctly. If I click Generate Batch File, you will have a small notice here that a batch file has been generated. And where you will find this batch file, it's a folder where we have saved our blend file itself. And there's the render first step split. And if you are going to take a look into this file, then you will see what it does. It will run Blender and render frame 1. If frame 1 has been rendered, it goes to frame 2, and that will be repeated for all frames in the frame range you have set in Blender. If frame 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 already has been rendered and you would hit the generate batch file button, then in this file here you would see this. At the end of the day, if baking and rendering has been finished and you will see that are missing 2 frames, you just need to click the generate batch file button here, and it will automatically take a look into how many frames has been rendered and what frames are missing. And if rendering has been completed, you can click this button here, and it will open the folder that has been set up in the render output folder here. So when I click on this, of course, this is actually empty because we did not render anything here. What you can also do is you can use command line baking. CMD baking means that you can close Blender and the baking process will continue. And what is cool is when there's an error for some reason, CMD baking will automatically relaunch baking. So how many times it will try to rerun the simulation can be set up in the FLIP Fluids Addon preferences. In the command line tools, relaunch bake after a crash field. Max attempts is default set by 5. What means 5 times when using CMD baking, baking will be tried to rerun. And if you are using this, you can also click the render after bake button. That means if baking has been finished, Blender automatically will start with render all that bake frames. Really cool. And if you would like the maximum on stable rendering, you could use the batch mode. What means if baking has been completed, the add-on automatically will use the generate batch file operator to generate a batch file and then start it automatically. If you use this combination and click launch bake, you can close Blender and just wait, drink a coffee, sleep, whatever. And when you come back to your PC, you will see a rendered result. How amazing is this? Okay, so this is how to get started with the actual versions. If you would like to have more information on our homepage, there are some more information. As example, you can see the Learn menu here and you can go to the documentation. Ryan took a lot of time to make this documentation as complete as possible. A link to the complete guide series, what is a link to our YouTube channel, all information about different objects, how inflow and outflow objects are working, how you can work with our white water simulation. And this is increasing. We are working on new tutorials. And there's also, from another channel of us, the creative learning series, what is less technical but more creative. So here are some scenes we are working on together. The slow motion, how to make chocolate simulations, how to work with web maps, another 10 tips video to improve your simulation. So this is also a very great learning source. If you have some questions or need support, we have a support form on our webpage, so you can also take a look to how you can set us some information, your blend file, your create requests. You can use this formula to tell us about bugs or issues you found. If you need some scene troubleshooting help, or if you have a feature request or something like this, you can use this field. We are collecting videos from our customers and making a really cool cutted video from this. You will find the result of these videos on our YouTube channel as well. Okay, so that was all from how to get started in a new version. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If something is missing or if you have any questions, of course, you can type this in the comment fields below. And don't forget to click the subscribe button to be up to date. So thank you for watching and goodbye.